Alaska's beauty hides a harsh truth: its growing homelessness crisis in 2025. This isn't a travel guide, it's a raw look at survival in one of America's coldest frontiers. Picture this: a frigid night in Anchorage, wind whipping at -20 degrees Fahrenheit, and someone huddled under a tarp, clinging to warmth with only a thin blanket. This isn't a scene from a movie, it's real life for hundreds. As we dive into their stories, we uncover not just struggle, but resilience. Join us as we explore the human side of homelessness in Alaska, a story of endurance, empathy, and the urgent need for change. Why are so many Alaskans homeless? It's easy to picture Alaska as wild and free: towering mountains, endless forests, and winters that test human limits. But behind that rugged beauty lies a growing crisis: homelessness. Unlike crowded cities like LA or New York, Alaska's struggle is shaped by vast space and isolation. With only 730,000 residents scattered across an area twice the size of Texas, you'd think there'd be room for everyone. Yet in 2023, over 22,000 Alaskans were counted as homeless on a single night, and the real number is likely much higher. So what's going wrong? Alaska's isolation makes survival harder. Many towns are unreachable by road, and help is often far away. Cities like Anchorage and Fairbanks carry most of the burden, but their shelters and services are stretched thin. In rural areas, it's even tougher: crumbling homes, no plumbing, sky-high heating costs. A single propane tank can run hundreds of dollars. That's money most struggling families don't have. Then there's the dream of Alaska, the land of opportunity. It draws wanderers, workers, and veterans chasing a fresh start. But when jobs disappear or paychecks stop, reality hits hard. Natural disasters, floods, fires only add to the pressure, displacing dozens each year. This isn't just a numbers story. It's a human story. Why does such a massive, resource-rich state struggle to house so few? Join us as we dig deeper, exploring the untold stories of survival in America's last frontier. Like, comment, and subscribe to follow the journey. Let's talk about what really matters. Homeless in the coldest state. Alaska's winters are unforgiving. Temperatures plunge to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, and snow buries towns for months. For the homeless, this isn't just harsh weather. It's a daily battle for survival. Emergency shelters, like Anchorage's Brother Francis, can only house around 1,240 people, leaving many to face the cold outside. Tents cluster along city edges in Fairbanks and Juneau, flimsy defenses against freezing winds. Staying warm means scavenging blankets, relying on hand warmers, and sheer will. In remote areas without shelters, some huddle near propane heaters, if they can afford the fuel. Others burn whatever they can find, risking carbon monoxide poisoning in poorly ventilated spaces. Snowstorms can isolate camps, cutting off food and help. With only a few hours of daylight, morale sinks. Every night becomes a life-or-death gamble. Volunteers often discover frozen belongings, haunting reminders of lives lost. In Alaska, winter doesn't just test endurance, it demands it. Alaska's economic paradox. Alaska is facing a deepening homelessness crisis, fueled by economic hardship and geographic isolation. Despite its wealth in oil and natural resources, the high cost of living makes survival a daily struggle. In Anchorage, rent averages $100, and a gallon of milk can cost $5. Seasonal jobs in tourism, fishing, and oil offer little stability, especially in rural areas where unemployment can be twice the state average. A lack of affordable housing and limited new construction only worsen the situation. For native communities, traditional safety nets like hunting and fishing are disrupted by climate change. One poor season can mean no food or money for rent. The oil industry, once a job magnet, now sheds workers as global prices fluctuate. For many, especially single parents and elders on fixed incomes, just one unexpected expense can lead to eviction. In Alaska, economic pressure isn't abstract. It's the harsh shove into homelessness, a battle for shelter and identity. In 2025, homelessness in Alaska is worsening, with Indigenous Alaskans representing about 15% of the population, but over 40% of the homeless. Historical trauma, from colonization to forced relocation, has left deep scars. Many rural villages lack basic needs, like running water, housing, or reliable heat, forcing people to move to urban centers where they often end up on the streets. Despite limited resources, organizations like the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium are fighting for change. But systemic neglect continues. Boarding schools once tore families apart, eroding traditions. Today, overcrowded homes push young adults to cities like Anchorage in search of work. But without skills or support, many struggle. Tribal leaders point out that bureaucratic red tape stifles housing projects and urban shelters fail to meet cultural needs. Yet through it all, Indigenous Alaskans hold on to their culture, finding strength in storytelling, dance, and kinship, a fight not just for shelter, but for identity. Surviving the freeze, life on Alaska's streets. Imagine waking up in a tent, the cold biting at your skin, frost coating everything around you. You trudge through deep snow to the nearest soup kitchen just to find warmth and food. Every day is a struggle, spent searching for a corner in a public space like a library or bus station in Anchorage, trying to stay out of the cold. During the pandemic, the Sullivan Arena was temporarily turned into a shelter for up to 400 people, offering some relief. But when it closed in 2023, many found themselves back on the streets. Organizations like Bean Cafe work tirelessly, serving thousands of meals monthly to those in need. Survival in Alaska means constant movement, staying warm, finding food, and just staying alive. Sleep is brief and shallow, as the cold penetrates even the thickest tents. Some collect firewood or cardboard to insulate their spots, while others line up at dawn for hot coffee to warm their hands. Public spaces offer fleeting refuge, but the rules push people out. In Fairbanks, where wind chills can drop to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit, frostbite marks the toll of harsh winters. Hygiene becomes a luxury, with showers few and far between. Possessions are reduced to what fits in a backpack, fiercely guarded against theft or the elements. Every decision feels heavy: eat now or save for later, rest or keep moving. Community efforts and solutions, but Alaskans aren't sitting idle. Non-profits, churches, and local governments are stepping up. The Housing First model, offering permanent housing without preconditions, is gaining traction. Programs like Karluk Manor in Anchorage are housing dozens, while mobile outreach teams brave the cold to distribute supplies. In places like Fairbanks, tiny home villages are being piloted to provide stable, safe housing. Yet funding remains a challenge. With Alaska's oil-dependent budget facing setbacks due to fluctuating prices, social services have been slashed. Volunteers and donations are keeping these efforts alive, but they are stretched thin. In Juneau, churches rotate as warming centers, offering refuge when shelters overflow. Volunteers stitch sleeping bags from scrap fabric, while food banks stretch their limited resources to feed hundreds every night. Anchorage's 2023 cold weather plan added emergency beds, but demand still outpaces supply. Tiny homes, due to their low cost and quick setup, are sparking debate. Some see them as a scalable solution, while others view them as just a temporary fix to a much deeper problem. Success stories, like a veteran finding a home after years on the streets, offer hope, but the scale of the issue is overwhelming. With oil revenue uncertain, crowdfunding and grants are filling in the gaps. But the fight continues. It's a battle fueled by the unyielding spirit of Alaskans, determined to tackle a crisis that refuses to go away. Stories of survival and strength. Alaska's homelessness crisis is rising, and climate change is a major player. The state's warming, twice the global rate, is melting permafrost, flooding coastal villages, and forcing residents to leave their homes. In 2022, Typhoon Mbok ravaged western Alaska, displacing families overnight. Meanwhile, shorter winters make traditional hunting harder, pushing rural Alaskans deeper into poverty. The effects of climate change are not just environmental, they amplify human suffering. But even in the face of these challenges, there's hope. Meet John, a former fisherman who lost everything to addiction but found stability through a Housing First program. Or Sarah, a native Alaskan mother who rebuilt her life with support from a tribal grant. These stories aren't just rare exceptions. They show that when compassion meets action, real solutions are possible. Veterans like Mike, who once slept in Fairbanks snowbanks, now mentor others after finding shelter and counseling. Teens like Ola, a runaway who escaped abuse, find safety and support through youth programs. These victories ripple out. John's back fishing, sharing his catch. Sarah teaches her kids songs, healing old wounds. Despite setbacks like relapses and funding issues, these resilient voices rise above Alaska's harsh silence, proving that with the right support, people can not only survive but thrive, rewriting their futures in the process. The heartbreaking reality. Let's take a moment to reflect. Picture a child, no older than 7, wrapped in a donated coat, clinging to their mom in a shelter. They don't understand why they can't go home. They only know they're cold and scared. This image stays with you, doesn't it? It's a gut punch to realize that over 100 miners in Alaska were homeless in 2023. This isn't just a policy issue, it's a human one, and it's time we face it. So how can we help? Start local. Donate to Alaskan nonprofits like Covenant House, which supports homeless youth. Volunteer your time if you can. Advocate for policies that fund affordable housing and mental health care. Even sharing this video spreads awareness. Every action, big or small, can make a difference in a state where survival often hangs by a thread. If you're far away, you can still contribute. Amplify voices on social media, tweet at lawmakers, or support crowdfunding for tiny homes. You can mail socks and gloves to local shelters or donate to organizations like Beans Cafe, which is always in need of supplies. Educate yourself on housing policies and Alaska's budget priorities, and start conversations in your community. It doesn't take grand gestures, it's about persistence. A $10 donation might provide a sleeping bag, or an hour of your time could warm someone's soul. Small actions create waves. Alaska's homeless don't need pity, they need a chance. What's one step you'll take today? Behind the crisis. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Substance abuse and mental health issues in Alaska. In 2025, they continue to fuel the state's growing homelessness crisis. Alcohol and drug addiction are deeply intertwined with homelessness, and Alaska suffers from one of the highest rates of alcohol-related deaths in the U.S. The vast, isolated landscape of rural areas only worsens the effects of untreated mental illness, creating a perfect storm for those struggling with addiction and conditions like PTSD. Many homeless Alaskans suffer from trauma, some linked to military service. Alaska's large veteran population faces unique challenges. Combat scars linger long after the battle, and with VA clinics often hours away, help is hard to access. But it's not just veterans. Childhood abuse, domestic violence, and untreated mental health issues trap others in the same cycle of addiction and homelessness. The numbers paint a bleak picture. Opioid overdoses have surged, and meth use is rising, especially in small towns where everyone knows each other's struggles, but shame keeps many from asking for help. Shelters and rehab facilities are overwhelmed, with waiting lists that can stretch for months. In Anchorage, the main treatment center is often full, and rural outreach programs are spotty due to chronic funding cuts. Some turn to alcohol to numb both the cold and the pain, only to find it deepens their despair. Breaking free from this vicious cycle isn't just about willpower. It requires a system that's often out of reach. Access to treatment, both mental health and addiction services, is scarce, and the stigma surrounding these issues makes it even harder to seek help. As we wrap up, we're reminded that homelessness in Alaska isn't about picturesque landscapes. It's about real people facing real struggles. From the icy streets of Anchorage to remote villages battered by storms, these stories challenge us to think beyond the headlines. This isn't just Alaska's story. It's a reflection of humanity's fragility and a reminder of how thin the safety net can be.